Oh my god, hey! Read all about it. Welcome back to my Stager YouTube channel. If you are seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe, and I am obsessed with all things theatre. I'm an independent theatre critic and a content creator based here in the UK, and I use this Stager YouTube channel to review shows that I get to go and see over here, and I talk about theatre news and drama and gossip and events happening worldwide. If that sounds like the kind of video that you would be interested in, make sure you have subscribed to my Stager YouTube channel. Today, I am very excited to be talking about Newsies happening here in London. Yes, we have waited patiently through the Broadway production, through the US tour, through the filming of the US tour production with members of the original Broadway cast, through a drama school production at ArtsEd here in the UK, to finally Newsies being produced professionally in the West End. Ish. It's in Wembley, which technically apparently is being considered a West End venue. It's at the Troubadour Theatre in Wembley Park. Sleepless the musical played at the same venue, so did touring productions of Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime and Warhorse. And now Newsies, which seems to be doing something very interesting with the space because it's being described as an immersive production. Now that's just a very popular buzzword at the moment, so I'm intrigued to see to what extent this production actually will be immersive. Certainly it seems to be unlike traditional stagings of Newsies that have been seen in the past. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the video, but first, I want to talk to you today about all of the cast who have newly been announced to be starring in this production. There are some great names here. I want to tell you what they've done before, what I know them from, and why I am so excited to see these performers in these roles. So stay tuned, we're going to talk about all of them. But before we do, if you enjoyed today's video, as well as subscribing to my channel and letting your friends know all about it, feel free to give me a super thanks down below. That would really help me as a Stager content creator. Now let's talk about Newsies. Obviously, the piece of casting we all care the most about is who is going to be playing Jack Kelly, the role made famous on stage by Jeremy Jordan, belting out Santa Fe and breaking everyone's hearts. Over here, we are very lucky to have the wonderful rising star Michael ahomka-lindsay playing the same role. This is a really powerful piece of casting because to my knowledge, Michael is the first person of colour to be playing Jack Kelly in like a major production of Newsies. And he's always been cast as this like romantic tenor heartthrob type, so I think it's really great and really fantastic that we are allowing young black male performers to also be considered in that way. You know, they've been needlessly shut out of that kind of a casting bracket for a really long time. We just see like young white tenors in these roles, and I am so excited that this is a more diverse cast. For a long time, the rumour was that Newsies wasn't able to come to London because it would be too difficult to cast here. So I'm very proud that not only have we proved we have the male dance talent to cast Newsies over here in the UK, but we can do it even more diversely than it was done in the US. So I've seen Michael performing before, earlier this year in fact, at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, where he was playing Emmett in Lucy Moss's very much redevised staging of Legally Blonde, opposite Courtney Bowman. And he was fantastic in this role. He was incredibly endearing, very sweet, very goofy, very lovable, very charming, and that's certainly a side to Jack Kelly. It's kind of like the Jack Kelly we come to know when the bravado and the kind of leader aspect melts away when he comes to meet Catherine. But I am also very interested to see that other side of Jack Kelly where he's being the leader, where he's kind of frustrated and having to shoulder all of this responsibility at his young age. So very excited to see Michael play that kind of aspect that I haven't seen from him before. Now, I never got to see him in this role, but he was also in the second staging of Rent at the Hope Mill Theatre as well, and he played Benny in that, so that would suggest he's played those same kind of like angry, angsty frustrations. And also, he can sing, which is very important because you know that Santa Fe is the song I care the most about in this show, as I suspect to many of you. Now, the next performer I want to tell you about is Bronte Barbe, who is going to be playing Catherine Plummer. This is a really great role for an actress in this production, and I'm so pleased to see Bronte doing this show for various reasons. Now, Bronte first came to prominence when she was one of the contestants on Andrew Lloyd Webber's Over the Rainbow. This was a TV series designed to cast Dorothy in his production of The Wizard of Oz at the London Palladium. Danielle Hope ended up winning the series, and it launched such other theatre talents as Lauren Samuels and Jessica Daly. Now, after appearing on this series, Bronte has done some exceptional work in the theatre. She's been part of a lot of workshops and really interesting artsy productions. She's done a lot of work with Paul Taylor Mills, and I've seen her a lot at MT Fest. She was attached for a very long time to the workshop productions of the musical But I'm a Cheerleader that is just now premiering in London this year. I saw her at the Fringe this summer, of course, as Kathy in Kathy and Stella Solve a Murder. She was hilarious in that, but I did feel like she was very young for the roles she was beginning to be cast in. She was sort of like moving towards an older casting bracket than she actually is. So I'm really excited to see her returning to a younger ingenue role that she can absolutely still play. Also, this is one of the most high-profile, buzzy commercial shows she's ever been cast in, and I'm thrilled for that as well. So those were the roles that I have seen her in, but Bronte's done a load of other work as well. You may have seen her touring the country as Carole King in Beautiful, the Carole King musical. You may have seen her as Ado Annie in Chichester Festival Theatre's most recent revival of Oklahoma. And you may have seen her in the new musical What's New Pussycat that was playing recently in Birmingham. The next performer I want to talk about is Moya Angela, who is returning to the West End, I believe, to be playing the role of Medda Larkin. Now, Moya is best known to West End audiences for having previously been involved in the revival of Dreamgirls at the Savoy Theatre, where she was one of the performers who was brought over here to share the role of Effie after Amber Riley left the show. So it goes without saying that she has the vocal chops to pull this off. I never got to see her in Dreamgirls, but I have heard some really exceptional things. And she won an award in the US for playing Effie White on the American tour. So I imagine she is absolutely going to set light to the song that she gets to sing, That's Rich. Medda is a smaller supporting role within Newsies, but an important one. She gets a great number, she gets a lot of warmth and humanity and humour, and she gets to bring a really nice different shade to the show to give us a little bit of variety. The next performer I want to talk to you about is Cameron Blakely, who is going to be playing the role of Pulitzer, who is the main antagonist of the narrative. So Cameron has a lengthy and brilliant theatrical CV. He is perhaps best known recently to audiences, as well as to me, as having played Gomez in both of the UK tours of The Addams Family, and he just about stole the show with this, which is saying an awful lot about him as a performer, because Gomez is a great role, don't get me wrong, but the show is written, The Addams Family that is, for all of these supporting cast members to be able to really steal the show away from him, but he was just fantastic in this role. Every single little comedy beat that he could find in it, all of the physicality, he was hilarious and touching and sincere, and so it's going to be very interesting seeing him play an antagonist. Very recently, and this is interesting, he was also seen in Mrs. Doubtfire, the premiere of this happening in the UK in Manchester. Now, there are rumours about this production coming down to London. Does his being cast in Newsies at this time imply to us that Doubtfire is not going to be seen until his run in Newsies finishes, or has he just chosen this production over that one? Who's to say, but we could read into that a little bit. I have a list in front of me of everything else that Cameron Blakely has done, and it is ridiculous. He's been involved in Les Mis, he's been in Rock of Ages, he was in Eugenius, he was in Into the Woods at the Royal Exchange, he's done Fagin in Oliver at the Watermill, How to Succeed in Business, Fiddler on the Roof, The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, Les Mis again, Les Mis again, Les Mis again, oh my gosh, Mamma Mia, Les Mis yet again, loads of things at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, some Shakespeare. Like, the man has done it all. And interestingly, in one of those Les Mis appearances, or in a couple of them in fact, he was playing Thénardier. So, not necessarily the most brooding and menacing and serious villain, but a villainous role nonetheless. So he has definitely played to that kind of characteristic before. Now, the next cast member I want to tell you about is Matthew Duckett, who is going to be playing Crutchy. And this is the kind of casting I can absolutely get behind, because Matthew is a disabled actor playing a disabled role. And I think that's really important. And I think for a part like Crutchy, not every producer and casting director would necessarily consider that to be pivotally important, but I think it's a really meaningful piece of representation, because there are some brilliant disabled actors working in the industry who are prevented from access to so many shows and to so many roles. When you think Newsies is a very physical show, a very dance-heavy show, a lot of these actors just wouldn't be able to get through that kind of an audition process. They wouldn't be considered for this show. So where you have a character who has a disability, it's a really great opportunity to be able to give a role and to give an opportunity to a disabled actor who can absolutely deliver with that material. Not because it's inherently necessary for the actor to be disabled in order to play that role, in order for them to gain some empathy and understanding into that situation, but because there are so many doors that are closed to them in the industry for reasons other than their talent, that it's brilliant and it's empowering and it's important that we can open the ones that we ought to. So yay to Newsies for this very positive, very meaningful representation. So Matthew Duckett has done some Shakespeare before, Richard III and All's Well That Ends Well with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I say some Shakespeare, with the Royal Shakespeare Company, so a big deal. I've never seen him perform in anything to my knowledge, and there is not like a wealth of musical theatre credits here. I assume that the song that was added for Crutchy on the US tour is still in the show. He does have a credit here, My Left/Right Foot, the musical with the National Theatre Scotland. So there's a little bit of musical theatre experience there. So that will be very interesting. But like I said, I'm really pleased to see casting like this and really excited to see what Matthew Duckett does with this role, because this can be a really scene-stealing and wonderful and heartwarming role. Next up, Ryan Coppel is going to be playing Davy. Davy is another great role within this show because he offers such a contrast to Jack's character. They can play off each other really, really well. Ryan has been in The Book of Mormon, as well as The Astonishing Times of Timothy Cratchit at the Hope Mill Theatre, West Side Story at the Edinburgh International Festival, The Inheritance at the Noel Coward Theatre, which was one of the most revelatory pieces of theatre I have ever seen, and he trained at Mountview, where he did musicals like Damn Yankees and Parade. Now, my perception of Davy as a character, I think, is slightly skewed by Ben Fankhauser's performance on Broadway, and that he just has one of the most delicious, fascinating voices. So I'm really excited to hear specifically what Ryan Coppel does with this part. But it's a really rich part with really interesting material that, like I said, it offers such a contrast to the attitudes and to the characteristics of so many of the other Newsies. It sets Davy up to be really interesting. Now, as I'm scrolling through the rest of this cast, I forget off the top of my head, because I've only watched the Newsies recording the once, and I forget which of the named Newsies do what, but I feel like I've spoken about the majority of, like, the main principal cast members, so I'm just going to scroll through, and any names that jump out of me of people I've seen before and things, or people I want to talk about, then I will mention them. Alex James Hatton and George Crawford are playing the Delancey brothers. Both of these are really exciting performers. Alex was part of the original West End cast of Heathers, and George has recently been seen in the UK tour of Waitress, where he stole the show every night playing Ogie. He was fantastic in that tour, and I've been very excited waiting to see what George was going to do next. Now, the interesting tidbit here is that George, I believe, was part of the ArtsEd production of Newsies, which was like the first time it was seen here in the UK. Jack Yarrow played Jack Kelly, but I was wondering if any of those ArtsEd Newsies would actually go on to be in this version of the show. So yay for him flying the flag, or should I say carrying the banner, for that particular drama school production. And I believe he tweeted that he was going to be a cover for Jack Kelly as well. So yay for George, as well as seeing Michael in the role. I would love to see George do it as well. Damon Gold is playing Finch. He has recently been seen as Sonny in Grease at the Dominion Theatre, presumably in the cast that I saw recently. He was also in But I'm a Cheerleader at the Turbine, as well as Pretty Woman and the UK tour of Kinky Boots. Here's another one we can talk about. Ross Dawes is going to be playing the role of Snyder. Ross was recently in Bonnie and Clyde at the Arts Theatre. He played Frank Hamer and a few other characters, I believe. I think he multi-rolled as a few people in that. I really enjoyed his performance there. I'm looking forward to seeing him in this. Now, for so many of the rest of this cast, I can't tell you what they have done before because we have a lot of graduates. We have a lot of dance-trained young actors. I'm really excited to see them getting this break with this production. I mean, this is the kind of show that I think a lot of graduate performers in recent years have really been dreaming of. When this was announced to come over, I'm sure so many people were just manifesting getting a part in this, and I'm sure so many of them must have been so excited to get that call to find out that they did. Now, if I could add one more thing I'm excited about for this production, there is a lot of exciting creative names as part of the creative team, but there's also someone credited with performer flying. Now, that is not something I readily associate with Newsies. So when I told you this was set to be a different production than Newsies that we have seen in the past, these are the kind of reasons why. Are we going to have flying Newsies? Can anyone work out what part of the show that would make sense for? Is it just like a catapulting thing? Is there going to be aerial work? I'm so intrigued as to why we may have flying newsboys, honestly. Like, dancing Newsies is overwhelming enough for me at the best of times. If they are also flying and it's immersive, that feels like a lot. I may need a glass of wine and a sit down. So I can't wait to go and see all of these performers in Newsies. I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight as to why I'm so excited for this production. I think the casting has been really genuine and really authentic. It feels like they're trusting the material and really honouring the material. It's great to see such a diverse lineup of male dance talent. I'm really excited to meet another generation of rising star performers. Casting announcements like these are honestly some of my favourites to read for that exact reason. So I hope you have enjoyed the cast of Newsies, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you're subscribed to my Stagey YouTube channel, and if you want, you can use the super thanks button down below to give me a little tip. Like I said, that would be really helpful to me as a Stagey content creator, or you can go to patreon.com/Mickey Joe Theatre. But before you do all of that, comment down below with your thoughts on this cast. What do you think? Who are you the most excited to see in this production? Are you going to see this production? Let me know. Hopefully, I will get the chance to review this one, and I will be bringing all of my thoughts here to YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!